Well, my name is Luis Pablo Martínez. I'm historian and anthropologist, and I work for the regional government of Valencia in the field of cultural heritage. But I'm not here as civil servant. I'm here as historian and anthropologist. So I'm going to tell you about traditional irrigation, not the official discourse. Okay? If you want to develop powerful agriculture and diversify, you need to put artificially water into the fertile lands in this particular area of Spain. It rains very few. So, I don't know if you understood what I told you in Spanish, that this is Elche's climograph, and as you can see here, the overall temperatures are quite high. Temperatures never drop below zero, so it's fantastic for agriculture. But water, rainfall is very scanty and is not well distributed. In the summertime, it almost rains nothing, you know, and it never rains more than 300 millimeters of rainfall, what means that you are almost in the limit for the production of wheat, only with rainfall. If you want to make sure that you are going to have your crops, you have to put extra water, artificial. Okay? Well, this is the pure traditional irrigation systems, which rely entirely in gravity, only gravity, for harvesting water, conducting it, and distributing it. Okay? And well, the only exception to that rule is that in some cases, the water is captured by means of artifacts for lifting water that are driven by animals. Okay? Seguimos. In these traditional systems, water are conducted through open air canals dug into the earth, and agricultural parcels are flooded. What is important concerning this kind of traditional irrigation systems is that they are entirely organic systems with no extra energy input from out of the local ecosystem. And that's very important in terms of sustainability. They are truly sustainable systems. And we call them acequia systems. Acequia, it's a Spanish word. Sequia in Catalan or Valenciano. Acequia in Portuguese. I don't know Portuguese, you know, but they have this word too. That word is a phonetic transcription of an Arab word, sequia, which means both a particular kind of water lifting device and irrigation canals. So it's beautiful to see that we have an Arab word fully alive, you know, in our culture, linked to traditional irrigation systems and to our irrigated landscapes inherited from Al-Andalus that are still alive. And we took this technology overseas to the Americas. There are acequias in the New World, in the United States of America, for instance. Okay. In our cultural context, here, in the Iberian Peninsula, the word acequia has a double meaning. It means, in one hand, the physical system for the conduction and transportation and distribution of water. And also, it has another meaning. The institution that runs that physical system. So when we talk of the acequia, we can be talking of the canals or of the institution, the body of people that join together in order to make possible the functioning of that systems. Okay? This is an example of our exportation of that culture of Arab origins overseas to the New World. This is a book by Jose Rivera from the University of New Mexico, La Cultura de la Acequia. The original was published in English in 1998 with the title Acequia Culture. Acequia. So in the United States there is this institution which is Arab in origins, still alive. Well, in this part of the Alicante province of the Valencia region of Spain, there are some different types of these pure traditional irrigation systems. there are irrigation systems that take the water from permanent streams from rivers. The most famous one is the Acequia Major de Elche, Acequia Major de Elche, which is the irrigation canal that irrigates the date palm orchards of the Palmeral de Elche. I don't know if you ever been there. Have you visited the Palmeral in the city, here in Elche? The date palm orchards, date palms, thousands of them around downtown Elche. So that's not natural. That's what remains of an agrosystem of Andalusian origins in Muslim times. And it all depends on irrigation, on the waters carried by the Acequia Mayor de Elche. Okay? See how Elche looks like without without artificial irrigation. If you don't put water artificially into the fields, you have what you have. You have a desert. You see? So this is the canal, the Acequia Mayor coming, and then starting to distribute a few water to irrigate a few orchards of date palms, you see? And the final outcome is the wonderful, the astounding date palm forest that surrounds the city. There are other Acequia systems that take waters for irrigation from the Vinalopo River, okay? Not so famous as the Acequia Mayor, but they exist, such as the Asuntos Moros or the Asuntos Comuns. Well, this is a very, very, very old dam built downstream the river Vinalopo in the point in which the Asuntos Moros irrigation system starts. Seguimos. Then there's another kind of traditional irrigation systems here that derive water from permanent courses of water, from permanent rivers, permanent streams. Acequia systems that take irrigation waters indirectly from the Segura River, from a different river, not from the Vinalopo River. Indirectly from the Segura River through the big drainage ditches of the Segura River basin. And that's the Comunidad de Regants de Carrizals, which is present here. This is a very old map from the beginning of the 18th century, in which you can see the very, very big irrigation systems of the Segura River, not the Vinalopo. Elche is to the north, okay? This is the area of Orihuela and other villages. And see how all of them come this way to the sea. But there is one irrigation canal that goes another way, that goes out from the basin of the Segura River. It's going to the Vinalopo River basin. It's a kind of transference of water from one river to another one, you see, to the area of Elche. And in this area is where Carrizales has developed historically his activities. This is not exactly the irrigation canal that takes the water to Carrizales, but it looks pretty much like this, okay? Continuamos. And this is these irrigation canals that in fact they are drainage ditches. Canals that are draining all this area, collecting waters and conducting them here to make possible the development of irrigation here. So they are reducing waters. This is a very important point. It is not lost waters, but what the surplus waters after you develop irrigation in this area is collected and conducted here, so you can practice agriculture again with the same waters in this part of the territory, okay? So the principle of recycling waters is embodied into these systems, and this is sustainability too. Then there is another kind of traditional irrigation systems, the pure ones, the systems which get their waters from drainage galleries, not drainage ditches, drainage galleries that are dug into the mountains. We call them Mines d'Aigua. In Iran, they are called Qanat. Farash in Arabia, Fogara in Algeria, Kharif in Morocco, and many other names. This kind of traditional devices for draining mountains to get water for developing agriculture are widespread from Central Asia to the Maghreb and to the Americas. Well, the most spectacular one is this Font Antiga, the ancient spring in Crevillent, a village close to Elche. But there are many other smaller mines d'aigua, canal, in this lower Vinalopo basin area, particularly in the mountain hilly parts of the territory. Okay? This is how these drainage galleries work. You have the water table going this way, and then you can start digging here a tunnel. It's not horizontal, it's slightly going up, you know, so for gravity to work, and it cuts through the water table so it can catch waters from the mountain and collect them and conduct them out of the mountain through an irrigation canal. And this is a very, very old technology for developing agriculture that in the ancient Middle East is already stated its existence in times of the Persians and that all the peoples of ancient times. The picture is awful, so I'm sorry. Not the picture, but the quality. It's out of pixels. You know, well, this is what the main architectural feature that identifies the Font Antiga of Crevillent, the so-called Els Pontets, the small bridges, which is an aqueduct at different levels corresponding to different times in the history of that irrigation system. But, but for most of the trajectory of the system, you cannot see the canal because it's going down the earth. No? And now, unfortunately, we can see it because in some parts the mountain is collapsing, so it discovers the irrigation canal running under the earth. You know? And there were irrigation systems fed by animal-driven water lifting devices. There were. I don't know that if there is still any of them still at work. I think there is not. Semi-Anoria, and that's a drawing depicting these traditional systems for getting water from down the earth up to start irrigating. Seguimos. And well, I have been talking of the pure traditional irrigation systems, but there are other types of irrigation systems that I would call them traditional, although they are not pure. Irrigation systems that depend on gravity for transporting and distributing water, but rely on industrial pumps for sucking the water from the earth and for elevating it. Seguimos? And here we have the example of Nuevos Riegos El Progreso. ¿Seguimos? And this is the kind of industrial machinery that in these systems is put into action in order to collect waters. But this modernization is limited to the collection of waters. Transportation and distribution rely traditionally in gravity, as in the other systems that we have been discussing. Now, I'm going to give you some impressions of mine concerning the efficiency of values of these traditional irrigation systems. Maybe you don't agree with me, but it's my opinion. And I think we can, what I'm going to say in some sense can make discussion to arise, but let's go. In these days, in this country, in this region, in this province, in this city, Acequia irrigation systems, no matter how old they are coming from Muslim times, They have plenty of historical values and environmental, as we are going to see afterwards. No matter their values, they are being labeled, they are being denounced as wasting water systems. They say that guys, they don't know how to manage water. They waste waters. They flood the fields. They lose waters. That's crazy. We have to be efficient in managing that waters. Efficiency for that guys means we have to industrialize the use of waters, as we can see. Well, and this is maybe it's polemic, but I see that there is a dominant ideology which is sustained by technocrats. Our political powers are putting a lot of money for the modernization of these systems. A lot of euros coming from Brussels, for instance, are being invested in the modernization, improvement of traditional irrigation systems. But there is also the agro industry, who is happy of being able to develop. And there are also, I have to tell you, there are some narrow-minded ecologists that they say, yes, by flooding the fields, you are wasting waters. I don't agree with this. So this dominant lobby, which I love so much, praises and promotes the so-called modernization of traditional irrigation systems, which means the substitution of gravity flood irrigation by pressurized drip irrigation. This is a beautiful pressurized fert irrigation system, which I don't like. But listen, see how complex it is, all the machinery and technology put in, at work in these systems. This means that no more the farmers will be able to handle their systems by themselves. Farmers are going to lose autonomy as the owners and the ones who run irrigation systems. Because until this day, the institutions, the traditional institutions that have been running and governing traditional irrigation systems have been autonomous and have been able to maintain and keep at work in good conditions that systems. With this kind of technology, this is going to be completely lost. You are going to depend on engineers, on economists, on loans from the banks, and well, from my point of view, that vision is wrong, if not evil. Why can I say that in such a strong terms? Why they are wrong? Because what that traditional systems do is to reproduce the natural cycle of water. A traditional irrigation system that depends or relies in gravity, only in gravity, is reproducing the natural cycle of water. It is an acequia, an irrigation canal, is a kind of artificial river with the system for the distribution of waters and so on. Okay? So if you realize that, you can start thinking that how is that possible that traditional systems can be identified or denounced as wasting water systems. If they are reproducing the ecosystemic functions of water, how is that possible that they are such an evil artifact, such a bad technology? Okay? And that systems provide us with much valuable environmental, social, and cultural services. Acequias, traditional irrigation canals, recycle and reuse waters over and over again. And I have put the example of Carrizales. Okay? Vamos, Rafa. Acequias sustain biodiversity because they are an extension of riparian ecosystems, especially the ones that have not been without concrete, in the walls, that are still ditches dug into the earth. Continuamos. No me voy a detener en la explicación porque si no, no podré. Continuamos. Some very peculiar botanic species, and then insects, all kind of animals, Continuamos. Linked to the maintenance of that traditional systems. Continuamos. Acequias wash down salts from the fertile soils. If you stop irrigating, the salts are going to precipitate into the surface of the fertile lands. So it's good to keep on flooding the lands. If you just put the drops by dripping irrigation, you are going to create a kind of capa, layer of salts, pretty close to the roots of the plants, and very dangerous for the viability of the crops. Okay? Sigamos. Acequias recharge aquifers. Recharging aquifers is very good. Believe me, it's very good. I'm going to put you an extraordinary example. Water pumping causes thorough quake. In Lorca, in a village called Lorca, close to Elche, there was a very big earthquake. ¿Cuántos años? ¿Cuándo fue? Wow. 2012. And the scientific study of what happened concerning the earthquake is showing that the lowering of the water table in the Lorca area helped the earthquake to have a worst impact on the buildings of Lorca. If you have the water table up as it used to be when traditional irrigation was practiced extensively in this area, the effects of the earthquake would have been much more lower. Okay? I think irrigation helps rain to precipitate. I'm crazy? It's not me. It's a scientific a researcher called Millan, who has been doing extensive research on this issue. And well, you know the story of how forests in Brazil, in the Amazon, help rain to precipitate because of evapotranspiration of trees, help the clouds to form, and then it rains. So what he has been finding with his research is that the breezes coming inland from the sea here in the Mediterranean basin have a certain average of moisture, but the moisture coming from the land where the traditional irrigated fields were, where the marshes were, where forests were, has a crucial role to play for rain to precipitate. So you have the sea air coming into the land with certain amount of moisture, and then this small amount of moisture coming from the land, from the evapotranspiration in the traditional irrigation systems, helps the clouds to form and to precipitate. Okay, seguimos. Acequia irrigation produces superb landscapes which are as different as the local environments can be. And just a few examples. This is Chorilla in the province of Valencia, a medieval town, beautiful one. And this is the huerta with the form of a crescent which is lying in front of that castle, Siguiente. This is Al Puente in Valencia, just less than 20 kilometers from Chorilla. And what we have here are irrigation terraces. Continúa? As you can see here. It's beautiful. Another one. Well, this is Al Puente too. This is Aras de los Olmos, in which there is a small huerta and a small irrigated area. Continuamos. Which is very peculiar because all the fertile lands are enclosed by this kind of walls, producing a superb landscape. This is an irrigation landscape too, fed by acequias. Continuamos. 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 So that we arrive to the Camp d'Elche, where you are here. And the Camp d'Elche, I don't know if you realize, but it's beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful irrigated landscapes in our lands in Valencia. And it's beautiful because it's irrigated with a few water. If these guys here would have more water than they have, they would have promoted the development of speculative agriculture, monoculture, only oranges, for instance. And that's a kind of landscape which is monotonous. Instead, they don't have a lot of water, so they have to diversify production in order to make sure that if one crop fails, the other one would go on, And the final result is beautiful. Pasa. We have a wide variety of productions in this area. Acequia landscapes and institutions sustain local identities. Continúa. Vamos a continuar, no me voy a detener. Acequias give cohesion to communities of irrigators who run them according to bottom-up democratic principles. This is very important too. And this is the most important example we have here in the Valencian lands, the Tribunal of Waters of Valencia, in which the irrigators that handle the irrigation canals of the Huerta of Valencia, they impart their own justice, with no interference from the public administrations, nor the justice the system, okay? Acequia landscapes preserve a wealth of environmentally relevant farmer knowledge. When they say they waste waters, they have no idea of what they are saying, because when the traditional farmers flood their lands, flooding their lands is not just opening the sluice and letting water go in. No. You have to prepare the field. You have to prepare the earth in order to conduct water. So what you are seeing here, which is beautiful in terms of landscape setting, is in fact an artifact, cultural artifact for saving water, for making use of only the necessary amount of water necessary for the development of this particular kind of crop. And this has not been studied properly, by the way. Continuamos. Acequia landscapes are a model for the sustainable systemic integration of different, often contradictory uses of water. I cannot detain in the issue, but it's amazing to see how, in using the same canal and the same waters, they put public laundry places, they put water mills, they put public baths, and agriculture. And all the different users have a different perspective of water. The millers, for instance, they like to retain water, upstream the mill, in order to have power for the wheels. But the peasants are waiting for the water to come. So it's amazing to see how they were able to develop, to design that systems in physical and institutional terms in order to allow the coexistence of these contradictory uses. Continúa, y no me puedo detener. Continúa. And this is pretty much the end. Acequia landscapes preserve a treasure of agrodiversity and provide cities and villages with 0-mile domestic agricultural products, which I think that is something very interesting in our current context of globalization. That's it.